Hey, welcome to the problem to be solved, where quirky inventions meet reality. My name is D+, and let's see what we'll uncover this time. Maybe you have heard about the term hysteria, right? Nowadays it's attributed mostly to some kind of panic or if somebody has a very extreme reaction to something. But hysteria used to be a medical term since ancient times. More or less a catch-all term for symptoms that could not really fit any of the known diseases. It got into the bucket hysteria. Slowly over the ages, though, this hysteria definition has evolved and morphed into something that was mostly attributed to women. And there are some very infamous, let's say, treatment methods from the 19th century about that. Most of them actually involving some kind of sexuality. Yes, what the people back then thought was that a woman suffering from hysteria can be cured with enough intercourse from their spouse, which worked most of the times. I mean, most of the people were married or had a partner. But what to do with all those single ladies or widows? Yes, that was also a problem back in those days, and also the physicians there had a trick up their sleeve. One of the tricks was simply administering the treatment themselves, or let an assistant or a midwife do it. Sounds absolutely crazy nowadays, but yes, this was done. It was so exhausting, apparently, for some of the physicians that some book authors actually claimed that the invention of the vibrator was actually a result of alleviating these exhausting methods and reducing manual labor, which it might do, yes. In any case, this kind of science has been completely discredited nowadays, and it is shocking simply to think about it, how all those men of science and all those doctors were treating the women back then. However, this also shows that sexuality nowadays is definitely not a part of any kind of treatment plan for any kind of mental or physical disease, right? And this is a good thing. At least mostly. Because there is a certain kind of subset of problems where it might actually be intertwined with some kind of treatment. One of them being chronic sexual dissatisfaction or frustration. It has been shown by studies that if somebody suffers from that, indeed, they could have not only a lower quality of life, but also they could suffer from anxiety or even worsen issues like depression. So it should not be completely disregarded, right? And now you might say, you know what? Leave sexuality in the private realm, right? Where it belongs. And you know, even if you don't have a partner at hand or anything, you can always, self-treat. So, no problem at all, right? Yeah, indeed. So, what is the problem? Oh, well, there is actually a whole array of problems that you might not even think of now. One problem, for example, is the self-treatment part, let's say. Think about an immobile person who simply can't move properly anymore and cannot reach certain areas of their body. Well, these people would like to have an as independent and self-determined life as possible. But if it goes towards self-treatment, they would always need to ask other people to do it for them, which simply removes the self part. Yeah. So another problem goes even deeper. Think about stimulation. For sexual satisfaction, stimulation is an extremely important part. And I now don't mean stimulation of different body parts in a different order to press the right buttons. No, I now mean under the skin. Your nerves have to be stimulated. And this nerve stimulation has to be relayed to your brain through the spinal cord, right? So think about people who either have very insensitive nerves or, even worse, got paralyzed either fully or partially due to an accident. These people report real difficulties in achieving sexual satisfaction because of this. So, yes, there is a whole area of problems. But let's check out whether any clever inventor was out there who thought about that and might have a solution to that problem. So, let's go to the patent book, right? Whoa, alright, what is this? So now let's check it first from all the sides. Interesting. Good. Well, according to the patent specification, this is your brain, or everybody's brain. Yes, I know these photorealistic patent drawings are sometimes too much. I hope you can look at it without fainting. Anyways, these bacon slabs here are apparently different areas of your brain. And your brain is, or the brain of a person, is seated within this bowl, and this bowl is your skull. So the idea that the inventor here had is that they got some MRI images to see what is the brain activity of these different regions during sexual arousal or during an orgasm. And so they got all these fireworks here in the brain going on, only to then say, yeah, well, you know what? Actually, everything, all our emotions, all our perception is more or less happening in the brain. And that they are actually very much right. The brain is really our control center and opens up a lot of philosophical questions about what do we actually perceive, or is everything more or less part of a complex simulation that our brain conjures up and we are just trying to make sense out of all the sensory input with that. Anyways, not to get too deep into this, their idea is indeed that everything happens in the brain. And one of the conclusions within the patent specification is actually that their device works because everything is happening in the brain. So how can this now help people with chronic sexual frustration? Here the inventor said, yeah, let's try something with stimulating those different areas just as they are firing up during the MRI scans. So how can we recreate this activity pattern in the brain from the outside? And their idea is all of these little knobs here in the back. These knobs, they are the actual device. They are ultrasound transducers. What does it mean, ultrasound transducer? It is a device that is fed with electric power or electric energy, and this electric energy is converted or changed into ultrasonic waves. They are special in a sense that these are also focusing ultrasonic transducers, so they are focusing their ultrasound waves to a certain point. And these focal points, they can also penetrate bone structure or other tissue in order to reach deep into the brain. So they said, well, we just put a bunch of these ultrasound transducers here on the skull surface, on your head, and then we just recreate this activity pattern that we've seen in the MRIs with the ultrasound transducers. So we are kind of shooting with ultrasound in all of these regions and try to literally tickle your brain into an activity stimulus in order to recreate the same kind of feeling, emotion, etc., or perception. So here we see now the ultrasound being focused on one particular part of the brain, and their hope is indeed that this stimulus will just activate this region, and then they use this pattern over and over and over again repeatedly in order to get the firework going. Whoa, that was quite some firework in the head, right? Maybe you would like to have the same kind of firework in your brains? Well, so where can you buy that? I actually checked again as usual, and when I searched for similar devices, what came up? These hair massage whisk thingies, these fingers came up, and another thing were just head massage knobs, right? Not really what we are looking for. Why not? Well, I again will give you some quotes from the pattern itself, which will be quite self-explanatory in that respect. Alright, so here we go. One of them being, the effect of ultrasound is at least twofold. First, increasing temperature will increase neural activity. An increase up to 42 degrees Celsius locally for short time periods will increase neural activity in a way that one can do so repeatedly and be safe. Definitely safe, yes. Because one needs to just make sure the temperature does not rise above 50 degrees Celsius or tissue will be destroyed. Not a good start when you're talking about destroying brain tissue accidentally. The second mechanism is mechanical perturbation. An explanation for this has been provided by Tyler et al. From Arizona State University, where voltage gating of sodium channels in neural membranes was demonstrated. Pulsed ultrasound was found to cause mechanical openings of the sodium channels, which resulted in the generation of action potentials. Lots of fancy words, but what it's actually saying is, yeah, you can open up channels in your neurons that then cause some transmitting between the neurons that was not supposed to happen. Epilepsy does similar things. So you're technically getting a seizure by doing this. Also not a good start to sell your invention, right? Then we continue. For example, one of the targets may have critical structures close to it. So if it is a target that would be downregulated to achieve the desired effect, it may be preferable to upregulate its reciprocal, more easily accessed or safer reciprocal target instead. Again, lots of words for simply saying, yeah, we recognize that in the brain there are some critical tissues and areas which should necessarily not be accidentally heated. So we will just then heat other places close by instead and hope for the best. Also, figure 6 shows no feedback loop. Yeah, what does it mean? Well, it just means if you haven't reached your desired effect yet, you just pump in more ultrasound. Why not? It's just your brain, right? So, that kind of explains probably why you can't buy this machine, unfortunately. Even though these problems I was talking about earlier are definitely important to solve. But this invention probably is not the safest to achieve solutions to these goals. Also, come on, they equate just some brain activity with just shooting at it so that it gets activated somehow and it should just replicate the effect. I doubt that the human brain works that simply. Anyways, luckily there is a safe solution to that. Check out the online shop, check out Patreon, and get your own 3D replica of a definitely completely safe, non-working device that might not give you the same kind of brain activity, but maybe a certain joy pattern will come up in in your frontal lobe, hopefully, anyways. And if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe, and see you next time.